Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SPRX where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Danny&Elli titled, or Ellie should I say, titled Cheap Motels. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen here. AI Rock and Roll Universal. These are the hashtags just in the description here. We're gonna look through this track from start till finish, or listen through it on YouTube, and we're gonna hear what we think. Cheap Hotels, let's go. What do we got? Subtitles. Nice. It's getting to the point where it's hard to tell, isn't it? It's getting to the point where it's hard to tell. I like the variety of different grooves and riffs within it. And that extension for tension here. Really nice sound to those floor toms. Interesting use of the stereo panning or the automation panning there. Okay, that was Cheap Motels from Danny&Elli. Danny&Elli. Don't know why I said Danny&Elli earlier, but that's fine, Danny&Elli. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Danny&Elli titled Cheap Motels. Now, what do I think this track is about? I suppose before I go into it, you'll see a score down here. I gave this 7.2 out of 10, which I think is a good score for this. I especially liked a lot of the rhythm work with it. I thought some of the drum parts are great. But I think this track is about someone who is sick of the cheap hotels, maybe sick of the cheap hookups. They're just sick of the chaos there. They just really want to sort of get rid of their own hell. They want to live their life the best way they can. They want people to go fuck themselves. You know, like there is some more sort of intense language within this, which I personally think is fine. But basically, it's very cut to the throat, cut and chase, and they don't screw around with it. There's a lot of attitude within it. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's necessarily represented well within the expression from the vocals. They still feel quite conservative. We don't have like the kind of like grit or fry to the performance that I know is typically, you know, like you can get fry from both male and female singers, but just, I feel like for the most part, this kind of makes sense in regards to what we're singing, you know. It's just maybe a little bit too gentle in parts of my taste, but aside from that, like when they tell a person to go fuck themselves, it's more kind of the same kind of feel as a lot of the rest of the track. But otherwise, very, very good. There's enough here to be interested in the story throughout. I can understand how the story relates to the riffs. I suppose just to conclude, it's about someone who is trying to find their own sort of like way out of a situation where they may be taken advantage of or been taken advantage of by someone else, and they're just trying to find their own pathway forward and are telling everyone else to back off. In terms of things I appreciate about the track, for one, I think the variety of different rock riffs made sense here. There were like pentatonics and bluesy parts here, which were cool. They were very kind of smooth with the distortion. And I think that while I would have preferred a more sort of developed kind of lead section a bit later on, it was nice to have some sort of pedal noted or arpeggiated parts there with some octaves. Like that was fine later on. I think structurally, there was enough to appreciate, but I think that the actual riffs themselves did suit what we were speaking about with the vocals, the kind of aesthetic that is described there within the genre as well. That's totally fine. That kind of driving force pushing forward. I think some of the decisions, sort of like production-wise, with the little delays on the vocals in certain parts, as well as the automation of the panning between the backwards and forwards parts, were good. I think that we made the most of the space within the piece there to do certain things that elevated it and were never distracting from either the track or the story. So I think that the production in general was tight as well, and those little bits of extra sparkle made the track better. And I think finally, the third thing I appreciated was the actual sound of the drums. The actual tom tone there just had a nice low end to it, which did kind of thud in the mix. It just was satisfying hearing the smack of some of those parts outside of the kick and snare grooves and everything like that. It was just the sound of them. So I think if I was to just quickly conclude before I talk about any sort of potential sort of like stuff that could be improved, my main things I appreciated about this were the sound of the instruments as well as some of the vocal ideas and the production chops. I don't think there's anything I'd really change about the song. Like, I feel like it's quite a safe, conservative effort here that I think is trying to be catchy. And I think that makes sense within the genre. I think it's maybe for people who are trying to sort of dip their toes into this kind of music as opposed to people who are sort of more familiar. That's not me being an elitist gatekeeper about it. It's just that I don't see a lot of difference between this song with a lot of others within the genre. I don't hear anything that particularly helps it to stand out or be particularly unique. And that sounds incredibly harsh until we actually look at the track in face value. And I think that can be the danger of going from a sense of catchiness with rock and roll, is that a lot of people are already using the same types of distortion or sounds with their guitars, the bass, the drums, etc. I feel like if anything for future, we just want to continue to build our own unique personality and approach to our songwriting process in order for people to hear the track and know that it's Danny&Elli. But aside from that, I think that's effectively my conclusion, my review of this track from an ex named Danny&Elli titled Cheap Motels, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever. Thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.